Vitaly Laletin, Alizhan Muratov. These two behemoths currently stand at the top of the left arm rankings and have absolutely blasted through every single one of their opponents so far and are concurrently ranked numbers 1 and 2 respectively. Both of them currently hold undefeated records at East vs West, with Vitaly being 4-0 and Alizhan being 6-0 on the left. And on August 1st, these two undefeated champions will face off against each other at East vs West 25 to determine who will be the true undisputed number 1 on the left arm. Today, I'll be going over several major factors, from their styles to their strengths, to predict who will emerge victorious in just over 2 weeks' time. Will Vitaly cement his place in history as the strongest left arm champion of the modern day? Or will Alizhan make his own history to become the first triple champion in nearly every single weight category on the big stage? Starting off with the reigning champion in Vitaly Laletin, I've actually gone over his left arm capabilities in a past video, but I'll reiterate many points here again. Just looking at Vitaly with the eye test, it's very evidently clear that he holds just about every single physical advantage over Alizhan. He has the bigger forearm, biceps, hand, weighs almost 80 pounds more, and towers nearly a foot over his opponent. By all physical metrics, Vitaly easily clears Alizhan in every department. But physical size isn't the only thing that Vitaly brings to the table. Along with it is possibly the strongest top roll that we have ever seen on the left. Vitaly was able to blast through Camille's flop press, flash pin both Tobias and Devin, and even run through the strongest version of Morozov ever. Vitaly isn't just a strong top roller, he's one of the most explosive, powerful, and dominant top rollers to ever pull at the table. And speaking of top rolling, Vitaly also has a very good style to counter Alizhan nicely. Not only is Vitaly often considered unhookable, but it's for a good reason as well. As a matter of fact, Vitaly actually has matched up against an arm wrestler very similar to Alizhan before on the left, and it was against none other than the hookmaster Ivan Matashenko. In nearly every single time that Vitaly has faced Matashenko, whether in competition or in sparring, he has always been shown to run through Matashenko like nothing. And keep in mind, Matashenko fought a very good match against Alizhan himself. Although he did lose 4-0, there were multiple highly contested rounds, meaning that Alizhan should at least be in the same ballpark of strength as Matashenko, though he is no doubt a bit stronger. So seeing that Vitaly can easily pin Matashenko is a bad sign for Alizhan, who clearly struggled in some rounds against the same opponent. So with all this in mind, on top of all of Vitaly's other overwhelming physical advantages, it feels nearly impossible for Alizhan to have any chance against the Siberian giant. But if that were the whole story, then there wouldn't be much reason to analyze this match in the first place. When it comes to smaller opponents defeating larger and bigger competition, one of the first names that comes to mind will no doubt be Alizhan Muratov, who has consistently defeated super heavyweight opponents while himself only weighing around 105 kilos or 231 pounds. It's no coincidence that Alizhan's nickname is the Giant Slayer. Vitaly may hold every single physical advantage over him, but the exact same thing was said about Morozov, and we all know what happened when Morozov faced off against Alizhan. Similar to Vitaly, I've also gone over a lot of Alizhan's capabilities in a previous video. By this point, everyone's already seen his signature drag style hook that he's been able to set on just about everyone. Whether it's a top roller like Hermes or a hook puller like Matashenko, Alizhan has handily defeated every single one of his opponents without ever dropping a single round. In fact, every attempt to top roll Alizhan has so far ended in failure. Whether it was Hermes or Morozov, Alizhan has so far proven himself to always be able to deny the top roll with his hook setting ability. In addition, Alizhan also matches Vitaly band for band when it comes to explosiveness. He is one of the most explosive hook pullers in the sport, having enormous power in his hits that can rip through even some of the strongest arm wrestlers, as demonstrated against Morozov. And to add on, the statement that Vitaly is unhookable also isn't necessarily correct. A more accurate version would be to say that the current iteration of Vitaly hasn't been hooked yet. Back in 2018, Ivan Matyashenko actually did manage to set the hook on Vitaly and ended up pinning him there. Although this was on the right arm, it's essentially what it would look like if Alizhan manages to set the hook on Vitaly. But what truly sets Alizhan apart from Vitaly isn't just style, it's also endurance. While Vitaly has always historically struggled in the endurance department, Alizhan has showcased amazing endurance throughout all of his matches. We've seen in multiple rounds where Alizhan's hits never seem to let up on intensity, even against people who have good endurance like Prudnik and Matyashenko. So while others get weaker and weaker throughout the match, Alizhan often looks like he gets stronger and stronger, which may be a major factor against Vitaly. Even if Vitaly overpowers Alizhan in the opening rounds, there's no guarantee that he will be able to keep up the same intensity throughout the match, while Alizhan has been able to show to grind through his opponents even in long endurance wars. Combine that with his explosive hook setting ability, there is a very real chance that Alizhan can outlast Vitaly in an endurance battle. Taken together, these factors give Alizhan a very real path to victory despite the daunting challenge ahead. So, when all's said and done, who will be walking away with the number 1 spot on the left arm? Well, in my personal opinion, this match is one of the greatest left arm matches in modern arm wrestling history. In many ways, Vitaly and Alizhan are stylistic opposites. While Alizhan is the strongest hook puller, Vitaly is clearly the strongest left arm top roller. Both are undefeated, and only one will walk away maintaining their perfect record. And for me, that one person will be Vitaly Laletin. If the saying goes, never bet against Levan on the right, then the left equivalent would be to never bet against Vitaly on the left. As dominant as Alizhan has been, the level of opponents that Vitaly has defeated is still much higher comparatively. While Alizhan defeated people like Oleg Petrenko and Cody Merritt, Vitaly's numerous wins against the top echelon of arm wrestlers on the left is absurd. His wins against Kamil, Tobias, Devin, and the strongest version of Morozov on the left simply dwarfs any other arm wrestler that Alizhan has faced. To me, the only argument for Alizhan is that he defeated Morozov much easier than Vitaly did. However, I don't actually believe that that win showcased anything notable. Morozov was clearly still injured and not fully recovered from his last match with Vitaly, and I think that many of the top left arm pullers would have destroyed him on that day as well. In my opinion, Alizhan's most impressive win is still against Matyashenko, who gets constantly obliterated by Vitaly. While a lot of Alizhan's matches have been in the hook, the only 2 times where he faced notable top rollers were against Hermes and Cody Merritt, both of whom are not even close to Vitaly's level. Not to mention, even in the worst case scenario for Vitaly, where he does get hooked, Vitaly has actually been shown to be able to contend with Matyashenko even when purposely entering a hook due to his massive side pressure. And going back to when Ivan managed to hook a weaker version of Vitaly for 1 round, we also saw what happened in the very next round. Essentially, here's the way to look at it. If Alizhan gets top rolled, he's likely screwed as he hasn't shown much outside of his hook on the left. But if Vitaly gets hooked, then it's still not quite over for him as he can clearly still hold his ground and attempt to top roll Alizhan. As for the question of his endurance, it will only really matter if Alizhan can force a tough fight in the hook or if Vitaly struggles a lot to top roll, which I simply don't think will happen. Once Alizhan loses his wrist, Vitaly likely flash pins him. Maybe Alizhan tries for the flop press, but if Kamil couldn't flop press Vitaly, then there's simply no way that Alizhan can. To me, it's simply so hard for me to imagine a 105 to 110 kilo guy standing up against the strongest version of Vitaly that we have ever seen. It feels crazy to say that the strongest hook puller in the world and the number 2 ranked guy is the underdog, but don't forget that Vitaly is still the number 1 guy. It's just very hard to see how Alizhan can pull this off. Vitaly has the style, he has the power, and he has all the tools needed to perfectly defeat Alizhan. So at the end of the day, my official prediction is Vitaly Laletin 4-0. over Alizhan Muratov for the left arm world title. However, I will say that personally, I am rooting for Alizhan to get the upset win. Not because I dislike Vitaly, but because it would be absolutely insane to see a 105 to 110 kilo guy claim the open weight title. If Alizhan does somehow win, then he will be the triple champion of the 105, 115, and open weight belts. But to me, as much as I'm rooting for Alizhan, I simply cannot fathom Vitaly losing on the left, especially against such a smaller opponent. He has had unprecedented dominance on the left against higher level competition, is stylistically suited to defeat Alizhan, and has every single physical ace over him. Overall, I think that every round will likely play out the same. Alizhan tries to go for the hook, and while he does partially succeed in sucking in Vitaly, Vitaly is simply too strong and rolls through Alizhan with a low hand top roll for all 4 rounds. Alizhan's best chances will likely be in the opening rounds, but the moment his wrist gets cracked, it will likely be all over for him. But regardless of the result, this is no doubt one of the most anticipated left arm matches ever, and one of the greatest stylistic battles that will likely go down in the arm wrestling history books. So, let me know what you guys think, and leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Can Vitaly retain his position as the #1 undisputed left arm champion, or will Alizhan Muratov slay the Siberian giant once and for all?